All right, so for those of you who do know, Chris is working really hard on an app for Ceaseless, which is his prayer app. Is that correct?
Yes, although I haven't been working that hard on that app lately.
Oh, that's right. You're working on something else. But recently you have been working on the Android version. So for those of you who do not know, Ceaseless Prayer app is on the iTunes Store.
Yeah, the App Store.
Or the App Store.
Yep,
Oops,
the
sorry.
Apple App Store.
Apple App Store. So it's out on Apple devices. It's going to be out on Android, hopefully. Or is it already out?
It's not out yet.
Okay.
I'm
We're
hoping
working on
by September, but we'll see.
And then you were working on Spiffio earlier this week.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the
That was
tool.
the other stuff.
So obviously, again, Chris is a programmer, has been a programmer for a while. I'm sort of starting off as a programmer. So actually, my genuine question to you is what kind of tools do you use? What kind of IDEs? And then just what do you have experience in? And also, what would you like experience in?
Sure. The first thing that I programmed was probably my graphing calculator, the
Yeah.
TI-83+.
Same here.
Yep, programmed math help.
Yep.
So that it could solve quadratic equations for me. But more seriously, in recent times, I really like IntelliJ, which is an IDE that is polyglot, multilingual, you could say. So it's good for Java, good for JavaScript, good for Python, PHP, tons of other languages. So I like it. It took me a little bit to get used to the shortcuts because I came from an Eclipse background, but IntelliJ is a lot better and more reliable. So Android, actually, I think Google licensed with the company that makes IntelliJ, so that Android Studio is based off of IntelliJ.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's pretty sweet. And then besides that, the other tool that I use a lot is Vim.
The good old terminal?
Yeah, the good old terminal editor. I use it all the time, actually. And the secret for Vim, for me, that really unlocked me, I went to something that was taught by one of the fellow engineers at Amazon at the time, and what he did is that he went up to the whiteboard and he wrote out all the letters of the alphabet, uppercase, lowercase, and a couple punctuation symbols, and then he just walked through the alphabet and explained what each letter did. And it just made sense out of everything.
So it's like the alphabet of
Vim. Yeah, because Vim is a modal editor. If you're familiar with what that means, is like you switch between a visual mode where you can select stuff to a read-only mode to an edit mode, and so it's kind of confusing at first if you don't have that concept in your head. But once you have that concept and you know what every letter does, you're like, oh, this is not that bad. Like I can figure this out, and so then it made it a lot of fun, and it's just really useful. It's like on every Linux machine, and it's quite capable. So yeah, I like Vim a lot.
Cool.
In terms of editors.
Yeah. Well, what do you use to program Spiffio?
I'm using a lot of Vim, which is sad actually.
Okay.
I could be using a better IDE and set it up end to end with a better build process and those kinds of things, but I just haven't gotten around to it because it's really, it really is prototyping and intellectual scaffolding. Like the product works, and I'm not trying to make it like production grade. I'm more of trying to flesh out conceptually what the user experience needs to be like, but instead of doing it with paper prototypes, for some reason I'm just doing it in code. And the code actually works, so I can actually hand it over to the customer.
This works.
Yeah, this already works. So it's not the most rigorous and best process, but oddly enough, like it seems to be the natural thing that I end up doing, and maybe you could call me a lazy developer for being that way. But it lets me actually deliver quite a bit of results, and really what I'm hoping for is to get it to the point where this process of continuous iteration makes the product good enough that it's completely independent of me, and then building up the team so that we can then productionize it.
Yeah.
And
then market.
Yeah, because doing things production quality is really hard. It's like that last 5% of polish and attention to detail that makes it shine.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work to get over that last 5%, and it's not always worth it at the front stages when you're still trying to kind of nail down the concrete kind of big pillars of your product conceptually and how you're going to position it, what people need to know to use it, and those kinds of things. So yeah,
for sure. Just going back to Vim, I like it because it looks like the Matrix.
Ooh.
If you set it accordingly,
of course,
to the black screen, the green text.
That's the only way to use it. Well, you can have multicolored text.
Yeah, but the cool way to use it at least is to make it look like a Matrix.
And then the other thing I like about Vim is that it's all keyboard no need for any mouse,
Yeah.
which is actually good ergonomically.
Well, you have to learn to get to that point first.
You have to get familiar with it.
Yeah.
But it's just beautiful not to have to use a mouse at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. I like it better than Emacs because Emacs makes you like stretch out your hand a lot to like do Control X, Control C, Control whatever like that. You're always doing these like key combinations.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Vim, it's not like that. It's a lot more. So it's
single text based.
Yeah, it's nicer
Yeah,
for me. That's my opinion. But that could be a whole flame war, I think, for some people.
Sure. And I mean, like everyone has their own opinion. Everyone is good at something or can be good at something. So,
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to learn or like to get really good at?
Ooh.
If you had the ability to just kind of like,
There's just too much, my friend.
Oh, okay.
I want to get good at everything.
you want to learn all.
I want to learn everything, but the reason why I want to learn everything is because I want to be able to take the ideas in my head and just make them real. And so I want to learn everything from just the the basics of like of coding and software development to all the computer vision and graphic stuff to all the audio stuff and the arts and how you can combine them and creating amazing experiences that will delight people. Like just every tool necessary to deliver on the vision. I want to learn
every tool.
Kind of. If you ask me the question, like it's not fair.
That's true.
But maybe if you wanted me to narrow it to like programming and that kind of thing.
Sure.
I think that there's nothing that super stands out to me right now. Like I love JavaScript and Node.js, and I can get better at that using some of the frameworks to build applications around it. But there's nothing that's really captivated my attention to the point of like, this is so cool. Although, sorry, I take that back. I've recently been using a framework called Mithril, or Mithril, if you pronounce it like the dwarf in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Mithril is a metal in the Lord of the Rings kind of world that's known for its lightness, but strength, right? Oh. It's as light as a feather, but it's stronger than steel kind of thing.
Oh, that's the thing that they wear.
Yeah, that's what protected, what's his name? Bilbo? And Frodo also, actually.
From getting stabbed.
Yeah, from getting stabbed.
Yeah.
And so, this framework's called Mithril, and it's aptly named because it's so lightweight. And like I was using it, and I love it because it naturally forces you into certain patterns of coding that are right. Because it's designed from a very functional programming mindset, like the guy who created it. And it's so lightweight compared to other similar frameworks, like way easier to learn than Angular, I felt like, and lighter than React, which is another JavaScript framework. And it's just like it feels so like clean and simple, but it's powerful, and it does it does things the way that they ought to be done. So I'm really enjoying using Mithril as a kind of web app, front end web app development tool. It doesn't do everything, but what it does do, it does well, and I'm enjoying it.
I see. Cool. I guess one final question for me, and I mean, I'm someone that's starting off, so obviously, like, I'm really familiar with, or not really familiar, but I've been using Eclipse. It's kind of like my main IDE right now. But do you have any advice for people that are either starting off or, learning programming, CS, stuff like that?
Yes. Sit down with an experienced programmer and watch him code in an IDE, because you will pick up stuff so much faster. When I started as an engineer at Amazon, I was green bean, and I programmed tons of stuff. But the truth is that I did not know my tools well. Like Eclipse, I did not know the keyboard shortcuts, and it just felt really complicated. All these like fly-in windows and everything, so many menu options. Like, what does all this stuff do? You just don't get it, right? And I know some people say, oh, you should study like the documentation. Like, oh, who really does that? It's really boring. You can watch screencasts, that kind of helps.
Okay.
But what really, really helped me grow so fast was there's this one developer that I sat down next to, and we were working on stuff together. It's kind of like pair programming, but he's so much better than me. Like his fingers have never left the keyboard. Everything's like keyboard shortcut. He's just doing this, that. And I'm like, whoa, what's he doing? It's like magic. It's like a virtuoso pianist, just touching the keys and like the music's coming out. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is because he's there, then I can just ask him and ask him like, pause, can you tell me what you just did there? Okay. And just show me. It's like, oh, that's what that's for. That's what it does. Because now you're seeing the tool being used by somebody who gets it in the context that it was meant for. And those three things. He knows what he's doing. He's using the tool, and he's using the tool in the context of programming something that you also are working on. So you get like the problem space, and you get what he's doing and why. Yeah. I just learned so much faster that way.
Oh, that definitely beats documentation because you don't understand the context when you're reading this.
And documentation is just boring. Yeah. And it doesn't help you solve your problem. Versus like you're already trying to solve a problem because that's your task. Right. And this guy's there with you, and you're like, oh, that's how you solve the problem, and this is the technique that he uses with his IDE along the way.
Yeah.
And then refactoring code and managing imports and stuff. It's not just one guy. Like, I learned from a lot of people.
Right.
But being in that community of practice where people are doing it together, like, that helps you grow by leaps and bounds. And having a real project, like, doing things like building stuff that you're going to actually ship and deliver is a lot different than just doing a homework exercise. That's what I found.
Right.
And so that also helps. And I'm just thinking out loud now. One other technique has been taking working code. This is why GitHub is so amazing with all the open source code that you can learn from. Very rarely do I sit down and actually like study the code. Like, I've done that maybe a few times. I did it with like Backbone. This is a framework. Just like see what exactly are they doing and why. And like, they had really good documentation actually, even of their code. But very rarely do I do that. More likely because I'm motivated by like, you know, my ideas that I want to bring to reality. I find a project that might be similar that's open source and I might adapt it. So I'll fork it, or I'll just take the code and I'll just like start tweaking it, playing with it, seeing how it works, and like adjusting stuff and seeing if my adjustments are doing what I think they will do. And I start kind of reshaping it into what I think it should be. And along the way, as I'm reshaping it, I'm discovering kind of the borders and the constraints of like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, but I can't do it this way. I have to do it in the way that this framework is designed.
Right.
And then I learn from that process of iteration, trying to make it do what I want it to do. And that's how I end up picking up, you know, new code bases, new frameworks, or whatever else like that, by adapting existing stuff and seeing where my expectations don't line up with the reality, and then adjusting my expectations so I begin to pick up how it's supposed to work. And that's how I picked up Mithril, and it was really, really easy to do it with Mithril, actually. I was very surprised. So
that's a really smart way to do, because you're either building off of something that's already pre-existing, or you're gleaning off of someone who's already experienced. So it's very wise. I think that it does kind of transfer into many different fields as well.
Yeah.
Like whether you're in like engineering or it's, you know, you're there with the master and you're seeing him.
It's like an apprenticeship.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that's the really fast way to learn. Like and I can tell you, it's way faster than other ways of trying to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
Way faster.
Yeah.